Yes, boys, welcome to another pre-week analysis. It is Sunday, the 23rd of August, and we are going to kick off as usual, starting on the DXY and then moving to EU, GU, and gold. Okay, so DXY last week, I was saying to the mentees on Friday's kind of end of week, we had the majority of price action, which created a very bearish weekly candle, as you can see here, a very bearish weekly candle. Came on Wednesday, okay, so it came from one particular day. We didn't necessarily continue in that. After that, volume not necessarily kicked off, dropped off, but we did get some consolidation. Okay, so we are in accumulation right now. Friday printed an inside doji. So what we're going to expect coming into next week is simply going to be on run on liquidity, potentially an ERL to IRL play into this fair value gap potentially, and then see a run lower. Okay, this is what I'm going to be looking at for next week on DXY, okay, which is ultimately going to print potentially a low on EURUSD followed by a run higher. Okay, so that is if we remain bearish on the daily time frame. When it comes to the 4 hourly, what we're conscious of first of all is that we're reacting from this fair value gap to the left. So currently we're stalling. Prices are currently, we're battling between moving bullish and moving bearish. Okay, so equal price action right now. And this is where the AMD model potentially shows. Okay, so as you can see, it's a little bit clearer now on what the accumulation is. We're failing to break highs, failing to break lows. So this could kind of extend out a little bit next week, potentially, but we are trading within this range. What would be really nice from a 4 hour is to come higher, okay, into this area. And if we just want to hone in on a particular fair value gap, then we'll just kind of sweep that a little bit. There we go. And then we'll get that potentially a lower time frame, maybe an hourly confirmation like so. Okay, this is what we want to see, really and truly, truly and really. So this is DXY. I'm not going to go any more complex than that, okay, because in terms of our kind of price action and where we're moving, this is our strong high up here. This is our protected high. This is our lowest low, okay? So for price to come all the way back up and potentially break this high means we're going to be playing in accumulation again, which this accumulation, to be specific, okay, this accumulation here. And if we do get that run up higher, then potentially we're going to be looking at going bullish again. But until then, I'm simply going to be waiting for high quality positions to kind of align with DXY from these regions here, okay? So that is DXY, and if we do break through this level, then the next point of interest, just for awareness, is going to be to push lower, maybe use as a flip zone, and then towards this POI here, which for reference is this daily gap, okay? Then the ultimate bearish target is going to be these swing lows, okay? That is if price continues to print bearish. So looking at GBPUSD, we'll start on EURUSD. Easier. Blank chart, nice and clean. We'll start on the weekly. There we go. So for the last 4 weeks, we have been printing bullish. Okay, so it makes sense that potentially we'll print another bullish week. However, we have come into the top of this range high. Okay, so this kind of area of price evidently has been where sellers have been stepping into the market. So just conscious of that. But not something that we're going to necessarily act on if we're trading on the lower time frames. So if last week printed so bullish, then we can expect a rebalance followed by a continuation. Okay, so that would look like something like this. We can draw our fib tool from our swing high to our swing low of that weekly candle. And we're looking to essentially trade from the discount to premium, okay, because we're bullish on the euro and we're bullish and we're bearish on DXY, okay, so the negative correlation there. In terms of points of interest, we have this fair value gap that we could see that reaction from. We do have a previous day kind of POI as well, so underneath previous day or previous week low, sorry, we have a fair value gap and an order block. So either mark that full one out there or just a fair value gap. Probably for the ease of the video, I'll just mark out this order block here. Okay, so we have an extreme, we have a swing IRL, okay, so from ERL to IRL, And we're simply be trading from that POI higher. When we look on the 4 hour in terms of where we mark out our kind of key areas or liquidity, we have all of these lows, potential trend line liquidity like this. It would have been like so, however, we've already got this run here. So potentially we just want to mark out this low as kind of key IRL. Mark that with a pound sign or whatever you want to do. And then as you know, according to this arrow, we're simply going to wait for a run and then a push higher. And that on the hourly is going to simply look like I did on DXY, push, followed by a break. Okay, that is going to be our hourly confirmation that we are in alignment with the higher time frame. And if that fails, if this bullish example fails, then we can ultimately take, we've got confirmation then to potentially take trades lower towards the POI there. Okay, so we can trade towards the higher time frame point of interest if we have a failed internal point of interest. Okay, so two options there. Just leave that like that. Okay, simple. That is what I'm going to be looking at on GBPUSD. I'm tripping. I am tripping. EURUSD. So EURUSD, because I thought that was euro, but that was the pound. Brilliant. We will use. Here we go. So EURUSD last week, we were conscious of this point of interest, which for reference is this daily order block. What we were interested in was to see if price was going to hold this level and potentially break this swing low and push lower, marking out bearish points of interest or areas of liquidity to target. But we didn't get that. Okay, we ultimately got price absolutely smashing through this key level, which we can now remove, like so. And we were able to catch longs and essentially continue with the trend higher. So from a daily perspective, a little bit of a clearer vision. Okay, so we have this fair value gap. We have a clear swing point, which does also, one, overlap with this fair value gap, but two, with this order block down here. Okay, so we can mark out the fair value gap like so. And I'm just going to mark out this order block as well, just as an area of interest, just to be conscious of it. Because what we could see is that this fair value gap gets completely filled, which we often see. We tap into the order block and then we push higher like so. Okay, when we look to the left at where our swing highs, our buy side liquidity, we've got these highs here, followed by these highs. We're going to be targeting those swing highs given that we are bullish. Very, very simple. So these are our next targets essentially. Again, just like on the pound, if this area fails, we break through this level, our ultimate confirmation from a daily perspective to switch bearish is going to be here. However, we don't trade on the daily necessarily, so we're going to be waiting for 4 hourly structure. Potentially we have this run in here. However, a bit of a weak low. We have a weak low in here. I'm just going to mark out for reference. Weak 4 hour low. We could come all the way in, and if we do end up breaking structural lows to the downside, then potentially, for example, this low in here, and delete this one, then we could potentially trade towards structural lows, which we just marked out on the daily perspective, which is here. So that would look like this. Okay, a run through confirmation, maybe looks like so, and then we trade towards these lows. Okay, but quite simply, that would be potentially a 4 hourly view. So if we want to hone in even more, just to see how kind of bullish we did turn out on last week, we have plenty of space to rebalance. Okay, hence why I do expect price to rebalance next week, unless we have more fuel, more reason for price to continue going higher. Okay, so ultimately we see Euro USD bullish, very bullish, waiting for that retracement. Similar story on GBPUSD. Okay, waiting for that retracement, waiting for that rebalance to then take price higher, given we get the hourly confirmation. DXY, very clear in where it's wanting to go in terms of we're stalling at this level, but we do have a region of price to come into, but we could get that manipulation phase potentially for price to then distribute lower. I can actually get the box. Okay, accumulation, manipulation, distribution. That would be that three-step model that we can so often see. Okay, so in terms of gold, what we saw or what we were conscious of coming into last week's price action was that we were at a POI. Okay, we were at a range swing high, I believe. Oh no, we were at a daily order block. Okay, so we had broken out of this accumulation. We have hit a daily order block after being so bullish anyway, and we were just waiting to see if price would ultimately start trading lower. Oh, I'll sit on the 4 hour. There we go. Hence why we have this kind of arrow looking as if we might trade lower. We did not get that, much like on EURUSD. Oh, we can actually hold it. We did not get that break lower. We actually broke higher, smashing through this order block, ultimately disrespecting it. And therefore we got opportunities to go long. Yes, I got wicked out on this long. It did end up going to TP, so it is what it is. But lesson in this trade was that I didn't wait for it to come into a 4 hourly POI. Okay, so with that extra confluence, I probably would have been okay. So as you can see, gold did actually tap into this fair value gap and then went higher. So a little lesson on maybe just being a little bit aggressive potentially. This would have been outside my time frame. 12 o'clock. Oh, I could have caught in New York. So I don't trade after 10:30 or between 10:30 and 12, but I would have had a confirmation here, I imagine. So yeah, just a little bit aggressive from me there. Is what it is. So what we're looking at next week on gold, in as simple as I can put it, is to essentially target higher prices. Okay, so I don't expect us to just massively retrace on gold, although we are reacting from this area, being this fair value gap, coming to the midpoint. We are rejecting it. However, we are just exponential right now. Okay, we're essentially vertical on gold, and it's not something that I'm going to try and just trade against unless I get the given confirmation. So when it comes to daily 4 hour, we are very, very bullish. 4 hour kind of our structural lows and highs. Potentially you could say this low, although it looks like this is all part of the same leg. So for me, this is going to be the most key low, that if we break this, then it's kind of confirmation on potential sell side bias. Until, unless, we see a push higher, new structure formed, and then maybe we break that, then that's confirmation there. But in this current moment in time, this is the strong 4 hourly low for myself. In terms of where we could see price come before a push high, we have obviously this fair value gap here. We have a mitigated order block. We have an unmitigated order block here, right at the extreme demand. And we can mark that out as an order block. And we're just conscious that we are reacting from this POI. Okay, so we could see, or we can expect a retracement from here, maybe a slight rebalance, and then a push higher, maybe. But we are just conscious that, or we're aware that price is extremely bullish. Okay, so it's not something that I will just be jumping in trying to go against the market, because I'm not a massively aggressive reversal trader. I do like to be trading with the trend, so we will continue to do that. Okay. And just for a visualization on what that look like, obviously a push into here, confirmation, higher, okay? If this level doesn't hold, then maybe we get hourly confirmation to trade to this POI, and then we get bullish alignment from there, maybe. Then the bearish situation is where we get a break through this low, we use it as a flip zone, and then we trade into this bearish point of interest, which is this bearish fair value gap, okay? So 3 options on the 4 hourly as well, okay? Try and make it as simple as possible, okay? So it's very much an if-then statement approach. If we come into this fair value gap and react with a bullish confirmation, I will buy. If we fail, then I'll wait for price to come into this second region, wait for bullish confirmation, and then I will buy. If we fail that, then I will potentially look to go short and trade towards this fair value gap, okay? 3 very clear narratives. that I'll be looking to execute on. And just to finalize then, DXY bearish, waiting for that manipulation, confirmation to then go lower. EURUSD bullish, GBPUSD bullish, again waiting for that rebalance, that retracement, and then taking price higher. Okay, and then gold, very, very bullish, but we are reacting for a POI. Maybe we get a reversal, maybe we get a retracement, and then we can potentially see price go higher again. So that is it for today. If you have any questions, feel free to either leave it in the comments, DM me as per usual. If you want to get money off your prop firm challenges, in particular Alpha Capital Group, Equity Edge, then you can use code CEE. And at Alpha Capital Group, you can use code CEE50, and that's going to get you a nice 50% off. So make the most of that. But as always, risk accordingly. Have a great trading week, and I will see you in the next one.